Yo, Chris, what do you think about Glenn's Loverboy headband? Can you see him on the video?
He's on the phone.
Okay.
No, he's on the phone.
No, I can't, but he used to wear one quite often. So you know me, man. Right back from the Art Bar days, I always appreciate a good Mike Reno headband.
Wait a minute. Wait. You remember that Art Bar liked him?
Yeah, he used to wear a headband, too, that he bought as a joke.
Yes.
He called it his Loverboy headband.
Right. He used to get a lot of heat from me and Eddie over that. And one last thing. I didn't know they were from Calgary.
Loverboy? Yeah, I think they're kind of Vancouver, Calgary based, definitely Western Canada for sure.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Dion.
Let me ask you this. So you're a generational performer. Obviously, you see that, you come from a style of wrestling, and you like to have your type of match. You like to work the way you do. And you see wrestling today, and you see a lot of the stuff the guys are doing, right? I know. I'm gonna give you mine, and I want to know what yours are. I know you have to have some pet peeves about some of the work today, right? These are mine. And tell me if you feel the same way. The no selling the super kicks, the no selling the kicks to the head is getting too prevalent. When people are shooting a guy in and throwing clotheslines, they're throwing terrible looking missed clotheslines, and there's just way too many dive outside the ring where guys are just standing there waiting to catch a guy collectively over a course of a 2 to 3 hour wrestling show. There's just way too many. Those are my top 3 pet peeves. What are your pet peeves?
Well, I learned this actually when I went back in 2016 and I started working with Kevin Owens and Seth and Sammy and all those guys. The new trend at the time was repeat moves. I mean, Seth still does it quite a bit. He'll do one tope and then get back in the ring, do another tope and then get back in the ring, another tope. When I came through the system back in the day, that was ludicrous. So I learned something there, that the style is changing to where it's okay to do the walls of Jericho 2 or 3 times in a match or hit 2 or 3 code breakers if it fits. Now, to answer your question, the business always mutates and morphs and evolves. It's the way it is now. So are there things that bother me? Yes. Are there things that I realize that people like that bother me and I just have to go along with it because it's the way the business is? Yes. That's
what
why
are
I'm still...
What don't you like?
I will tell you.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you. And also, too, there's a lot of stuff that bothers me that I can't control because I'm not in the match. Now, when I can't control that is when those guys work with me. Right. We have had... I called a team meeting. I'll tell you one right now. The lack of tag and the lack of just normal tag team wrestling psychology drove me nuts to the point where that was one of the big knocks against our company in about week 3 or 4, if you remember. Now, Conan will appreciate this. They started making excuses for the Lucha Brothers because, I'll be honest with you, tagging out, they're lazy. They don't care. They just walk in and out whenever they want, do whatever they want, and it's not right. It's not how you do it. And they would make up excuses where they would say, oh, it's Lucha Libre style. Huh, that's funny, because I worked in Mexico for 2 years, and guess how you make a tag in a Lucha Libre match? You stand in the corner, and you wait for a guy to touch you, and you walk in. That's Lucha Libre rules, a.k.a. tag team rules. So I called a meeting with the whole crew and said, you're burying the refs. If you don't have any rules, you don't get any heat, and it's killing our show because our honeymoon period is over, and now people are watching us, and they're being confused by the lack of rules. So that's changing slowly.
Let me tell you, just like Lucha evolves in the United States, it evolved in Mexico, and sometimes evolving means digressing. They very rarely tag in and out anymore in Mexico. They just fucking go in.
Okay. Ultimately, if you want to look at the root blame for this, the root blame of this absolutely lies with Conan, because Conan brought the luchadors into WCW and basically introduced Lucha Libre Wrestling into the States, and then you had a lot of these indie guys repeating Lucha Libre Wrestling, but not really sticking to the rules because they're green, and this is what has happened. It's Conan's fault.
Bro, Chris, now
let me finish my statement here. Let me finish my statement before somebody clickbaits me.
Yeah.
Phoenix and Penta are amazing. They blow my mind every week. And once we had a couple talks with them, guess what they started doing? They started tagging. Because like you said, maybe they were working at that. Maybe it was a habit, or maybe nobody told them. Right. You've got a whole locker room of guys who have basically just worked indies their whole careers. Not that I'm not putting the Lucha Brothers in there, but they don't know little things. Like I've told guys, change your gear. Your gear looks bush league. They come back with new gear, and I said, I can't believe how much better this is. Nobody's ever told them that stuff before. So once we told the guys to concentrate more on tagging in and out, they've been doing it, especially the Lucha Brothers as well. So everyone's learning together about what we're looking for in this company.
Jericho, let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind. One of the main things that I learned nowadays, and we take this for granted because we already know it, is we assume a lot of, and I'm not saying they don't know shit, but we just assume that like a lot of wrestlers already know what they should do. And sometimes when you talk to them, you're like, bro, nobody told you this before?
Yeah.
How long have you been in the fucking business?
Let me get
you have to find you and me can't assume anymore that younger guys know what they're doing. You have to sometimes go out and ask them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Chris, do you remember this story? Listen, Chris, listen to this. Remember when you guys came for it was a SmackDown at the Thomas and Mack Center before they started doing T-Mobile 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah. And I'd come backstage. I had my Samoan friend I worked with and his kids. We came backstage for the show, right? And we're sitting there waiting, like there was something going on. You guys were having a meeting, and like you came back and like you said, "Hey, what's going on?" I was like, "Oh, we just did," and like I hadn't seen you in a while, right? And you were telling me, he's like, "This is the WWF or WWE." You said we just had a meeting. I was like, about what? He goes, "We had to teach these guys how to find the red light, like how to find the hard camera."
Right.
Like you're talking to your main roster crew on WWE and explaining them stuff that like was just rudimentary for us back in back in WCW. Like me, you, Coney, and Bagwell and stuff. We always even made a joke about how finding the hard camera is so important. Remember, like the games we used to play and stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and you literally had a generation of wrestlers and of all these guys that nobody had told them this. And I'm like, I find
and we had to have that same conversation with the guys in the first couple weeks of our TV because once again, how much live TV have these guys done? Zero.
Not a lot.
Mostly zero. Not a lot. But I can remember. The thing is, guys need to hear it and probably very much appreciate it because I can remember going to WWE in 1999 and not knowing what bumping and feeding was. That sounds ridiculous when you think about it now, but nobody did that in WCW, and nobody told me about it. I never did the bump and feed. If someone makes a hot tag, I just never did. No one told me. So there's a lot of stuff that guys that have been working for years and years and years just don't know. Like you mentioned with Lucha, with Penta and Fenix, maybe nobody told them that you got a tag here. This is what we want, and guess what? They're doing it. And you just got to. That's my thing with wrestling that I always hated. When guys would go behind your back, oh man, his punches are the shits. He throws terrible punches. And everybody in the company knew you threw terrible punches, except for you, because no one told you. Go behind your back. We don't do that. If there's something that I don't like, and vice versa, please tell me, because it needs to change in the best possible ways. Not being an asshole. Everything else you're doing is great, but this needs to change. And when you tell somebody that's a true professional that, they'll take it to heart and do better.
Bro, and let me tell you, like sometimes in the dressing room, I would have some of the older guys that go, "Oh, well, this guy is doing this wrong or he's not doing." I go, then go teach him. Then go fucking teach the guy so he does it right. Don't complain.
Right.
And so that's always my philosophy. And like you said, you got to be cool about it because power is to be used to inform and to help, not to abuse and fucking be a dick with it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Exactly.